Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre with TeddyBaldassarre.com. In this video, we're looking at a watch from Accutron from their Legacy collection with this cool silver dial variant. Now in this video, we're gonna be looking at this watch, and on this channel, we cover watches available for purchase on our website, TeddyBaldassarre.com, as an authorized dealer. So we'll go through an overview of this timepiece, look at some things to consider before maybe making a purchase. At any point throughout this video, if you have any further questions, check out the link in the description to the product page where you can purchase the watch, see more information, and book a time with one of our dedicated watch specialists as well. Guys, let's jump into the video, take a closer look at this watch. At the end of 2020, Accutron released 12 vintage-inspired models from their 1960s and 1970s catalog, with each one limited to 600 pieces. This move was in part to reconnect with Accutron collectors and vintage enthusiasts, as the vintage watch market has continued to strengthen over the past decade, and especially in the past few years as social media influenced the world of collecting. These 12 models no longer feature electronic tuning fork movements they were originally supplied with in the 1960s and 70s, maybe making this a little bit harder to land on true purists, but they are featuring Swiss-made mechanical movements, a move that aligns well with today's collecting community. From a design standpoint, this collection accurately and appropriately reimagines the styling languages from my bygone era, with many of the case sizes measuring in at that mid 30mm range, making them accessible to a wide array of wrist sizes and those that like that vintage appeal. Now, Accutron is doing more than just connecting with fans of the brand and collectors around the world. They are also attempting to reposition the brand within the Citizen Group, which owns the company. Citizen has gone as far as splitting Accutron from its former owner Bulova, breaking them into two distinct companies. Currently, Accutron's focus has been on reimagining these vintage designs in the Legacy collection, as well as the Spaceview 2020 and the Spaceview DNA, which we've also covered on this channel. But today we're going to look at a Legacy reference, the 2SW6B003, which is based off of a 1974 Accutron reference, a mid-sized silver-on-silver tonneau shape watch with handsome looks and a cool mid-70s appeal. First, taking a look at this Legacy model on the wrist, the tonneau shape case measures at 38mm across, 40mm from top to bottom, and sits at 11.6mm thick. This particular model is absent of true case lugs and features an integrated bracelet, as it only measures at 40mm length-wide across the wrist. It's very compact and wears more like a 36 to 37mm case, which should accommodate most wrist sizes from 15cm up to around 18.5cm. This model is actually the largest of the Legacy models when it comes to physical case size, but even so, it's fairly moderate by modern standards. The case is a bit more boxy and features fewer angular bevels that we find on some of the other Legacy models, giving it some really distinct looks. The only point in this watch where we find case beveling is from the top surface along all four sides, which then takes one more hard angle to the side of the case. These surfaces, along with the case back, are all high polished. Positioned at the 4 o'clock, we find a small push-pull crown to operate the settings. Unlike some of the other Legacy models, this one's a bit easier to operate, even though it is a bit smaller in its size. The movement can be hand-wound at that first position, extending the crown to the second position. You can set the date, and at the fully extended point, you then can adjust the time while stopping the second hand in the process, so hacking seconds here. As another point, this watch does feature 30 meters of water resistance, so no water activities for this one. A boxy 3-link bracelet is fitted to this model, with the outside links finished in high polish and contrasted brushed center links. Since the bracelet is integrated and there isn't a strap option available for this model currently, you're not going to be able to use third-party straps either, unfortunately. The bracelet closes with a hidden compact butterfly clasp with a 2-button release. Plenty of sizing links are supplied, including 2 half links, and they are secured with one-way push pins. Comfort has been prioritized, as the back of the bracelet does have a uniform brushed finish, but I would say that the bracelet does leave a little bit to be desired. It doesn't feel as premium as some others in the price range, but should do the job, and I would not let the integrated bracelet deter you from being able to pull this one off. It certainly will work from a day-to-day perspective. Transitioning back to the front of the watch, we find a slightly raised scratch-resistant sapphire crystal treated with anti-reflective coating, which reveals the dial below. The dial does have a few interesting design elements going on that all work harmoniously together. First, a large angled chapter ring with a matte silver finish occupies quite a bit of dial real estate as it makes its way down from the crystal. Applied to the chapter ring are polished beveled stick markers with black center sections, which are accompanied by luminous plots placed along the outside of each one, as well as a minute track along the bottom of the ring. At the 3 o'clock position, in lieu of the 3 o'clock index, we do have a date window, which will feature some stepped outlining and does work well with the design. At the center, we have a simple stick handset that are a bit stubby in terms of their design style, not reaching the outer perimeter of that minute track and those markers, including the red dip second hand. Apart from that, there's not much else going on the dial. There is some vertical brushing with that central dial surface, which does add a nice element of texture. Applied is an Accutron logo at the 12 o'clock, and then also the Accutron tuning fork at the 6 o'clock, although not having an Accutron movement on the inside of here. Flipping the watch over, we have a partially open case back with some designation to the limited edition production numbers at the lower half of the case back, and then the open view of that movement within the SW200. So the Legacy Collection is going to be featuring Swiss-made calibers within all of the different lines. This one featuring the very venerable and also very popular Sellita SW200, which is one of the cornerstones in third-party Swiss watchmaking. As being an alternative to the ETA 2824, being a member of the Citizen Watch Group, which Accutron is, getting your hands on those movement is a difficult task. But nowadays, the SW200 has really, I would say, become just as popular, if not more ubiquitous, than that of the ETA 2824. In terms of operation, we're looking at 28,800 vibrations per hour, 4 Hertz. Does feature hacking and hand winding. Hacking stop in the second hand when you pull out the crown to the farthest position, and has a power reserve of 38 hours. But now to unpack and look at this Accutron Legacy model. So like all the Legacy models, I think the points of criticism and things to consider are pretty much the same. The purists are not going to necessarily like the fact that these are using Swiss-made movements on the inside that are going to be mechanical in nature, and the fact from people that maybe aren't into this brand, it's a little bit difficult to pull some of these watches off, candidly, because they are very retro and different. But on the flip side, I think that's the #1 reason they have so much charm going for them. This one is a little bit more of an uphill battle because it does have an integrated bracelet. The bracelet is pretty solid, but you are married to the bracelet, unlike some other models within this catalog. The legibility on the dial is also a bit more difficult to deal with if you have maybe not the best of eyes compared to some other models. But in terms of that tonneau style case, it is very well finished. You can see those very broad, just polished surfaces along the outside, which really adds some nice elements with that vertical brushing on the anterior side of the case and on that central dial surface. This is just a watch that kind of draws attention and gets a conversation going in terms of where it's positioned and how it kind of is a little bit of an oddball. That really is going to kind of come down to the end consumer, but there's no doubt some cool things being pulled from the past with Accutron with this design, as well as the entire Legacy collection. And for somebody that wants to maybe show off some unique flair with their own collection, I think that's when these Legacy models make a ton of sense. All right, guys, well, thank you again so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That's a great way to help out the channel, and I would appreciate it as well. Also, if you're in the market for this watch, it's available on TeddyBaldassarre.com, full authorized dealer of all the brands that we carry, over 30 brands, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, also offer a full factory warranty for all the products that we carry. So if something goes wrong, you're completely covered. In addition, we also offer price match. So if you see one of our watches for cheaper at another AD, fill out the product form and then we will be in touch with you. And finally, 9 out of every $10 that we generate goes right back into the content that we're creating here, as well as on our main channel as well. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I'll see you all very soon.